closing. First I'll read. In Saladonia, with Macedonia, Greece, and Aphrodite, Greece, and Pikeville, Kentucky. I'm going to read 4 poems, one of which is a prose poem. 3 of these were inspired by experiences relevant to blue corn. And the third one I'll speak about when I get to it. I also, before I read, I would like to acknowledge and honor the original custodians of the land on which we are sitting, known as the Monacan Nation. And I would also really like to honor and acknowledge Karen Wood, who was a Monacan elder and an extraordinary poet, and for many years the director of the American Indian Program for the Virginia Foundation for Humanities. And she had signed up to read here 2 years ago. Wasn't able to make it because we're in this. So I want to acknowledge her and what a huge contribution she made, not only to the Monacan Nation, to poetry and to this state. So, I need a sip of water. So the first 3 poems are relevant to an experience with blue corn and some other direct personal experiences. Only variable for a few minutes. Dark as an overcast new moon night, blue corn kernels in slightly irregular rows on a palm-sized cob feel cool to my touch. There's ancient weight in this dry fruit of inflorescence. One side appears intact. A turn reveals what is missing. A scar at the top informs where the male tassels grew. At the bottom, a minuscule hole from which hair-like silk strands each receive one wind-borne pollen grain into an ovule forming the female ear. Light reflects the smooth, hard surface, delineates, as did morning sun through the open passenger window of Mr. Billy's pickup, draw my attention to a rifle on the passenger seat. Neither random or sudden genetic alteration induced maize's dependency on human intervention to reproduce. Protected by a hard, shiny coat, possibility yet lies within each ovule inside every kernel. A result of selective breeding, this descendant of wild grass was dried, cultivated, and carried before there were national borders. Change initiated migration. Fading on red desert rocks, painted tall, standing, many-fingered ones are still watching. Does the spiral turn in or out? When loosely held, these kernels rattle in a cupped, slowly moving palm. Listen for the voice of the once wild. Each kernel bears visible indicators of natural and imposed conditions. Shut the hush. Have you seen State Marker Q28 on Preston Avenue, commemorating over 8,000 individuals involuntarily legally sterilized to prevent conception of, quote, genetic inferiority, end quote? And this one is a poem. Before hummingbird season, Mr. Billy's walking on the gravel driveway toward Bobby Ray and Bernice's one-story vinyl-sided house. Air is cool enough. He's wearing a long-sleeve earth-tone plaid shirt. All the buttons are buttoned. The adult, deer-sized dent on his silver pickup remains below the rear passenger side door and above the wheel. Trucks parked closer to the house where the swings set Trucks parked closer to the house than the swing set frame without swings. Mr. Billy's been tall and slim since we were first introduced by Winston, a pedigreed schnauzer who nearly died in the jaws of a Doberman. The goodwill ambassador of this county road, Winston lived with Bobby and Bernice. Mr. Billy drove over the mountains to walk 3 miles a day with Winston. Down to the railroad tracks and back, Winston on a leash, 2 friends. We all cried when Winston died. Mr. Billy's thinner now. Looks up and waves as I greet him, walks fragilely toward me. The gravel rattles beneath my feet. Sunlight reveals small pink scars on Mr. Billy's face and top of his left ear where cells of potential hazard were removed. Never before have I seen him shaky or open his arms this way, nor does he speak as usual of weather or his garden. Cucumbers, tomatoes, lima beans, blight on his cabbage this big. Or how his garden keeps him going. Mr. Billy doesn't plant blue corn. He's not heard of regenerative agriculture. Each spring he tills, amends the soil with lime and non-organic fertilizer, sprays pesticides. He'll drive 20 miles for the lowest price hybrid seedlings. Sometimes Bobby Ray rides shotgun, gently holding young plants lined in rows in plastic trays steady in his large, athletic, calloused hands. These men smile like proud parents when I admire the seedlings. Co-workers who befriended each other, as did their wives, decades before the men retired from a local quarry. The 2 couples played bingo together at the VFW post. This year, Mr. Billy planted his If I'm Still Here garden. He always gives 3/4 of the produce away. Every morning, each evening, he checks the garden. Doesn't say aloud the word commune. I hear it in his voice. I know fear when I see it. Mr. Billy leans toward me as if I'll catch and hold him up. Have you tasted Bernice's pound cake? She makes a perfect pound cake. I was striving to take one too. Thought I was having a heart attack. Drove myself to the emergency room. The cake is still in the truck. Scared myself. Can't just sit around doing nothing. Neighbors have to help each other. On tiptoe, I offer. He accepts from the waist up. A hug, a prayer. In the way the outer coating of a corn kernel holds safe the truth within. So those 3 are in a sequence of 5 linked poems that all have some of the same words in them. And this one is in acknowledgement and honor of Josephine Van Damen, who was one of the original founding water walkers in Canada. And as I said earlier, I've brought water that will pass around anymore. And Grandmother Josephine passed last winter. So half the circumference of Earth. Grandmother walked carrying her dented bucket around shorelines of the 5 Great Lakes beyond borders, stepping into global waterways, joining drops from all oceans. When tobacco she planted in still water began to float around, Grandmother knew the water heard her singing prayers. Prophecy rippled her to bridge communities, empower 7 generations. Water walkers, 1 voice, 1 bowl. All right, thank you for your wonderful readings. We have 2 minutes and John needs to leave. So, let's pass around the water, and I'm also going to come around with a basket of I have rattles and shakers for anyone who wants to play them. I also brought a couple of extra drums. and we're going to stand up together and sound out our sending positive tension worldwide. Today is an extraordinary day, and we think about over 500 events occurring on the same day, and people just like you, just like me, who are creative, and care, and I'm going to get running. Tom, it's done. So let's sound out just for a few minutes, and I invite you, as you're doing so, just imagine that there. Thank you. This water will be shared. Right. Imagine, if you will, that there's a line of light flowing from your heart into the center of the room, and that light, that love that's in each of you, sharing it with the above, the below. Remembering, here we are sort of in a circle. The above is always above us, the below is always below us. Earth is always sustaining and nourishing us. We are always in the center of the directions, north, south, east, and west, which means, my friends, we can never be lost. So, just for a couple of minutes, send your hellos out into the world and send some solidarity out to all those other colors. From my heart to your heart and everywhere in between. So I'm going to ask you to quickly join me, and let's send that message out again into the world. We care. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. So we're going to move our hands back. We'll do this 3 times, and when you raise your hands in the air, say the word Shango with enthusiasm, of course. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shango! Shango! Shango!